What's up? It's Coach Vassar. Thank you for joining me. There's Blaze, my cat. Technically my wife's cat, but it is what it is. Welcome to OTF Audio Daily Beats. As always, if you're new to these, appreciate you tuning in, listen to me talk about these workouts. Find value, let me know. If you have any feedback, give me that heads up. Always open to feedback. Growth mindset. Anyways, we are going to talk about Friday, January 17th. This workout will not repeat. So it's just the one day and that's it. We're going to see strength on the treads and on the weight floor. 2G, it's just that. There's no rowing except for the warm-up if people start on the weight floor side. 3G, of course, a little bit different. But let's kind of dive into it. So key concepts today. For the treads, we're going to see two blocks. In block one, it's all about keeping your base speed as you work through efforts with the incline. Block two, we go all out, starting at the highest incline and working our way down. As mentioned, there's no rowing in the 2G. For the floor, we have two blocks with two sets of two exercises. 2 blocks, 2 sets, 2 exercises. You're going to do 2 rounds of each exercise before moving on. Total body strength day, which means we pick up heavy weights. I jokingly tell people shiny handles. So just a heads up for the 3G for the rower. It's going to be accumulate as much distance as you can in block 1 and then aim for half that distance in block 2. All right, jumping back to the 2G, you do need benches out as a heads up on that. When we look at the treads, we are going to see 2 blocks, 16.5 minutes for block 1, 90-second walk recovery, and then a 5.5 minute block for block 2. In block 1, as we mentioned, we were talking about incline. It's going to be rolling hills, and the goal is to maintain their base for 16 minutes, and then they have a 30-second all out at the very end. If they do these right, the hill work will feel like a push, so uncomfortable, but then that base is an opportunity for them to at least catch their breath. The recovery is pretty short. It's only a minute of flat road. The first hill is the longest hill, but it's also the lowest incline. So as we look at it, the hills will decrease by 30 seconds, but they will go up by 1% every time. Power walkers, their first hill starts at 4%. Their final hill starts at 9%. Joggers and runners, they'll start at 2%, and then they will finish at a 7% incline. For the bikes and striders, we want them to start about 1 gear over their base for their first hill, and then return to flat road. And then every time the treads go up by 1, they will add 1 gear every single time. So as we look at it, we're gonna start with a 3-minute hill, 1 minute flat road, 2.5 minutes, and then 1 minute. 2 minutes, eventually 90 seconds, 1 minute. The final hill is a 30-second hill climb at 7%, flat road base for 30, and then a 30-second all out. Once again, as I said, the hills should feel uncomfortable as they do their best to maintain fatigue. Key things to remember, of course, for the joggers and runners when it comes to this incline work, emphasize, recruitment through the backside, so driving their hips forward. They'll want to pick their knees up, which is also going to engage their hip flexors. And then heels come up as well. I also like to tell people to lift their toes. That way they really feel, the bottom of their foot as far as like the ball of their foot hitting the belt rather than like the front of their shoes. For power walkers, big strides, pumping their arms. One cue I like to think about is driving off the back foot to propel them forward. And then for the bikes and striders, of course, they're going up in the gear every round. They might find themselves out of the saddle on the second to last and last hill, since they're going to be at 5 and essentially 6 gears over base. And by getting out of the saddle, it will allow them to kind of use their body weight to push down on the pedals a little bit more, so that they're not using as much leg work to get that turnover. So it will make it a little bit easier on the lower body fatigue. After that 6.5 minute block, 90 seconds to recover. Block 2, all outs, walk recoveries. Everything's 30 seconds, and the goal is to maintain or increase the speed as the incline decreases. Power walkers, they're going to start at a 10% incline, and essentially they want to keep that. Joggers and runners, they are doing a 30-second all out at 6%. So there's a couple ways to kind of coach this one. You could have people reference the previous all out, see if they could hold whatever they did there for 30 seconds at a 6% incline. Because keep in mind, that last all out they did in block 1, Also preceded, you know, there was 16 minutes of hill work prior to that, so their legs are tired. They take the full 90 seconds of rest. Most likely they could probably maintain that speed at that 6% incline. Their walk recovery is flat road. Now, the other way they could do it is just, reset. What could they do at a 6% incline to feel like an all out? That could be a, aggressive push. So maybe 1.5 over their base with that incline. It'll feel similar to like 2 over their base speed. And then as we go through this block, the hills go down every time. So joggers and runners, they're gonna be at 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then they do have a flat road all out at the very end. For the power walkers, they could follow the same pattern. So they could hit the highest incline on that first one. So instead of 10% or greater, maybe they try for 14, 14.5, 15% incline, and then lower incline every round. They could also increase their speed and just try to maintain their incline. So once again, the coach note is all about coaching to the feeling of very uncomfortable, more so than just a direct number that they're going to use, especially with these high inclines. For the bikes and striders, first all out, keep them at least 6 gears over base. After that, have them go down 1 gear every time. Maybe they increase their RPM, or they could just maintain, because once again, if they're maintaining, that is part of the goal. Now we look at the weight floor. We're going to see 2 blocks. 2 movements done as a superset for 2 rounds. So they do exercise 1, 2, rest, 1, 2, rest, 3, 4, rest, 3, 4, rest. That's the end of the block. They'll go into the bonus, repeat all exercises as 1 block. The second block is set up the exact same way. So when we look at block 1, we have the dumbbell Arnold press and the single arm high row with 1 hand on the bench. Both of those movements are 6 to 10 reps. So they're going to see like a shoulder push and a back of the shoulder pull for 2 rounds. And then we are going to see a core movement with the strap, and then also a bodyweight core exercise. So the first movement is actually a new strap exercise. It was actually used in the Wednesday Strength and Tread 50 class. So if you coach then, it's going to look very familiar. We're going to see the strap 11 and 1 o'clock press. So for this one, you're going to start at the bottom of a strap chest press. So they want the elbows bent 90 degrees or a little bit more. Elbows are about 45 degrees from the body. And then from here, they're going to imagine like there's a clock and they are reaching one arm to 11. They'll come back and then 1. Every reach is 1, 6 to 10. Like any strap exercise, they could stagger their stance to make it more accessible. They could walk forward to make it easier as well. They could also walk back to make it more challenging. The key thing for this movement is we want to make sure that the strap stays off the arms, so there's no skin contact, as well as they want equal pressure between the 2 hands, because as they reach out, if they lose the pressure here, this arm is going to drop on them. And then luckily that equalizer loop of the strap will prevent it from shifting too much, but it could definitely, shock them if they drop like that. So they need equal pressure between both hands as they reach out and back up. If you did not coach or did not take that Strength 50 class, I highly suggest getting on the strap before you coach, practice the movement if you haven't done so already. That's gonna be paired up with the low plank thread the needle. They'll do 6 to 10 on each side. When we look at block 2, we're gonna see a front-loaded single arm squat paired up with a deadlift. So lower body, hinge and squat motion, and then single leg bridge with the foot on the bench, and then the front-loaded neutral grip alternating reverse lunge. So dumbbells are racked up on the shoulders, nice and simple there. Since they have the benches out, they could also do step-ups instead of lunges if that's just not accessible for them today. 2 rounds, and then their finisher is going to be either the Arnold press or the reverse lunge from block 2. Nice and simple for the 2G. Like I said, there's no rowing. So let's look at the 3G. When it comes to treads and rowers, 2 blocks, weight floor, 1 long block. So on the treadmill side, block 1 is 8.5 minutes. We're going to see rolling hills as well. 2 minutes for the first hill at a 4% incline. So they actually kind of start pretty moderate on the incline to begin with. Power walkers will start at 6%. Power walkers will go 6, 7, 8, 9 for their hills. Joggers and runners will do 4, 5, 6, 7%. For the bikes and striders, they do recommend same thing, start at least 1 gear over their base, and then every time add 1 gear higher each round. That will finish with a 30-second flat road all out. Block 2, we will see the same work of all outs and walk recoveries, except for the all out will be 45 seconds at a 6% incline, then a 30-second walk recovery. The next hill will go down to 4, 2, and then flat road. So they're going to skip the odd inclines of 3 and 5 from the 2G. For the rower side, block 1, 8.5 minutes. They're going to do a 20-stroke row for distance. Stroke rate is locked in between 20 and 24 for this one, so they do give a recommendation because it's strength focused. They will then do a med ball squat hold with rainbow. So they squat down, med ball starts at the shoulder. There's 1, there's 2, they have 10 reps. And then single leg front press, balance on one leg, extend out, back in, 5 reps there. When they finish that, they get back on the rower and then they do another 20 strokes and collect more distance. So they will not reset their OT Connect screen. So they want to clear out the screen at the start of the block and then they leave it alone, let it run for those 8.5 minutes, check and remember their distance. When we get to block 2, their goal is to get about match or beat the distance from block 2. They have half the time. And on top of that, there's only technically 3 minutes of actual work because they're going to be timed up with the treads. They're doing a 45-second all out and then a 30-second rest. They could do a recovery row. They could also do a rack and rest. Knowing that, and then also thinking about the block 1, most people will probably get, I would probably say 3, maybe 4 rounds in block 1. So if they get about 3 rounds, 20 strokes, at the bare minimum, we're looking at about 200 meters, most likely closer to 250 to 300 though. So you could put people around 600 to 900 meters. And then when they hit their all outs for 45 seconds, it's probably gonna be about like 180 to maybe 200. They have 4 of them. So 600 to 800 meters. So matching their distance, very achievable, especially if they take a recovery row instead of rack and recover. Weight floor side, we are gonna incorporate the Arnold press single arm high row. They'll go to the next superset of deadlift and reverse lunges, and then the next superset of the strap 11 and 1 o'clock press and the low side plank thread the needle. So for the 3G, they actually remove the single leg bridge and then the front loaded squat. So they do remove 2 lower body exercises for the 3G. And this is gonna be done as one big circuit, but they are doing them as superset style. So do the first 2 rest, do the next 2 rest, and then the last 2 rest. Their finisher, same finisher, either Arnold press or reverse lunge. There you go, January 17th. In the books, not repeated. So if you coach this one, great. If you take this one, even better. If you could do both, best option there. Other than that, any feedback, let me know. Otherwise, you know how to support me. Thank you as always for listening in and coach it down.